on. How could I miss the brain core? They put the jetties here and the rocks back in the...
They grew the reef.
They colonized it.
Right.
So from literally about a block up.
When you say they colonized it, did they start growing it artificially?
Right.
Oh, okay.
We'll talk about... So the Atlantic blue tang, when it's a baby, it's yellow. When it's a teenager, it's blue with a yellow fin.
Right.
And then as an adult, and that's why they call it Monument in Magic City. That's his nickname. And when that happened, things like Collins growing avocados in the turn of the 20th century was profitable because today, and I could definitely go off topic a little bit, but American, North, Central, or South, American indigenous plants that were cultivated, whether they're from Florida, Arizona, or Argentina.
Right.
Here's a few. Corn, tomatoes, any spicy red peppers, including every one in Oriental cooking, guavas, pineapples, all from the Americans. Americans in general. Right, the Americans. Other words, they weren't known to the rest of the world until after Columbus. Potatoes, chocolate, vanilla. This one even, this being all attached. Well, the sand moves down the coast from far north to far south. It's like gradually moves down the beach. So that's how the sand is replenished. It's called longshore drift. Creating jetties is a problem because it starves the area on the other side of sand. So Miami Beach has jetties all the way up the coast. Delray Beach, Florida, they're all over the place. All those jetties are blocking the sand from moving south.
Oh, isn't that interesting?
Right. So Miami Beach by the late 1970s was like this, like Fort Lauderdale, it was like this size. And originally it was a big beach like you see now. But once the jetties were built, it got more and more eroded. And then by 1979, the beach was like this wide. So they dumped all the sand. Well, that's a problem because remember, over here from about 12th Street down, right about, see where the jetty ends? Just imagine about 1/4 of the way this way, in, not that far off, there is a series of true coral reefs. They're called patch reefs. They're small, linear reefs. All the way from 12th Street down to Virginia Key, there's been a series of patch reefs. Well, they began to get in trouble from the get-go. Once government cut was created, essentially all the patch reefs on that side were destroyed by this, by a variety of reasons. And then later on, over here, of course, the sand goes around that jetty and then the ocean catches it and throws it away. So several of the patch reefs were becoming damaged, and, early on. So in the mid-1990s, they had this new wonderful program, and it was called Artificial Reef. You probably see artificial reef creations. You see them a lot in Florida, South Florida. Well, they don't mean they're a plastic fish or anything. Instead, they have created this rock that's perfect for coral, sponges, and other marine organisms to colonize. So if you throw them in the proper environment, it becomes a base for coral reefs. So in the mid-1990s, they created 12 of them between this point and 13th Street up the beach. All of them successful.
Really?
Yeah, and one of them, very funny because it's called Jose Cuervo Reef. It's between 5th and 6th. They made one of those rocks shaped like a bar, like a beer bar, or
Tequila bar.
like a tequila bar or whatever, and it's shaped like a real bar. It has stools and everything, but it's all made out of rock. So you can go snorkel on Jose Cuervo Reef right there, right just east of 6th Street. So these are all successful, and the patch reefs were actually a little bit further out, but they were still in the same area. In 2001 and then again in 2007, they did the beach replenishment. And the first one in particular destroyed almost all of the original reefs. The sand, the excess sand went around that jetty and just covered them.
You have to be so careful with reefs. They're so vulnerable and so sensitive.
Today, they seem to be recovering, and luckily they got the idea to put the artificial reefs, which kind of augmented them. But in 2002 and 3, it was a disaster.
Whose idea was it to do it?
I guess the state or the city or something. I'm not even sure.
I read something in the news recently, Frank, about like a dispute between Stewart, which is just north of Palm Beach County, and Palm Beach County over like who should get the sand. Like maybe Stewart did something to, set up
On the glass bottom boat in Colorado. You know, it starts just east of Key Biscayne. That's its northern island. They're not tropical environments, they're temperate ones. So each of these environments here have this small assortment of plants and animals that live in them. Well, the tropical Hawaii hammock, as I mentioned, is Cuba in Florida. Same plants, same animals, with some exceptions. The coastal strand is somewhat different. If you go to Puerto Rico, Guam, Saipan, Philippines, Hawaii, Brazil, coastal strands look remarkably similar everywhere in the tropics at least. However, some are unique to one or the other, like beach sunflower and sea grape are American plants, found from Brazil as well, on any sandy beach. But other ones are, every white will be like an X, like this big, like literally like this. And he puts the two legs aligned with the white, so when you look at him at a glance, he looks like he's this big. They have spread from Argentina to Canada.
All right. Well, there's a
In
whole
this-
bunch of different birds on this tree. There's parrots, there's a grackle, the starling.
Oh yeah, there's a Quaker right there.
Yeah.
He flies after insects. He will eat fruit whole, and he will act like a real woodpecker like he does now. So some woodpeckers are different. This one is real different. It's called the yellow-bellied sapsucker. There is such a thing.
Oh my God, there is.
Yeah. Other words, when you woodpeckers that have somehow figured out something no one else has done. And what they do is they drill holes in trees, sap comes oozing out, and they might suck the sap. Not usually though. Instead, they have a route that they take. So on Ocean Drive, the big tall coconut palms, there are sapsucker wells from 100 years ago on those trees. If you look at the trees all the way from top to bottom, have these rows of holes in them. So you just imagine in 1940, there was a sapsucker there, and there still are sapsuckers there now. But they're sneaky little guys. They're all over the place. But they're yellow and black and white with a little red here, and they go, when you see them, they go, and they have this uncanny ability to just go, but they are everywhere. In Coral Gables, the gym, there's a 10-story building. They have a pool with a coconut tree at it, and there's one there.